Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Ness. I like to talk about books. Yeah, it's a book haul. I don't know about you, in a time of crisis, I tend to, 1, eat more food, and 2, buy more books that I absolutely do not need. As you can see behind me, I have absolutely no space on my shelves whatsoever. So I have absolutely no business buying 40 new books. Most of these books are second-hand books. Some absolute bargains which I just absolutely couldn't resist, and some of them, in my defense, I've actually already read and I will be passing on to friends soon, which is well needed because I have nowhere to store them. I always say that I have 3 hobbies: reading books, making videos about books, and buying books, which in itself is a hobby, which I've been reining in recently, but I've allowed myself to go on a bit of a splurge. We're also celebrating. I've got a new job, even though I did buy all these books before the job interview. So I have no excuse, I have no reason. I did, just before pressing record on this, buy another book as well. My fellow content creator, Steffi, I will link her TikTok in a pinned comment. She let me know that on the TikTok shop for HarperCollins, their locked library sub boxes had gone on there and they'd put up for sale the book that wouldn't burn, their edition, which is stunning, and a book that I almost bought in Waterstones on Wednesday but didn't. They had that on their shop. So I actually got that for £18.10 with delivery, which is an absolute bargain for a special edition, and especially of a book that I really wanted as well. So yeah, I have that. You can watch an unboxing of that in the pinned comments. That is to come to add to all of these. Oh my. A lot of these books I did buy at Barter Books, which is a shop in Alnwick that I absolutely adore. If you live in the UK, you must go there. They allow you to take your books in for shop credit, and all of the books that I did get from Barter Books I bought with store credit, so I didn't actually pay anything on the day. To me, they're free books, but they're not free books, but they feel like they are. So without any further ado, because this is going to be a long video, I'm going to go through the paperbacks and then I'm going to go through the hardbacks. Oh boy. So my first Barter Books purchase, which was the cash price of £2.80, again I got it for credit, is Landline by Rainbow Rowell, and I bought this purely because I wanted to see what all the OG booktubers were raving about in 2014. It's an American floppy as well, and I can't resist an American floppy. I have read this book and I will be filming a read and review of the books that I've read so far in this year. I've read 21 books this year. This will be in there. But spoiler alert, if you are as curious as me as to what the OG booktubers were reading in 2014, you can go ahead and give this one a skip. The premise sounds amazing. I actually thought this was young adult, but it's not. This is an adult book. The main character is Georgie, and she decides to stay at home for Christmas even though she promised her husband and her 2 children that they would go to Omaha, where his parents live, and spend Christmas with his mother. But she has an opportunity at work which she feels like she can't miss, so stays at home, much to her husband's disappointment. She tries to get in contact with her husband using a landline that's in her mother's house, and on the other side of the phone when she rings her husband, it's her husband when they've just started dating. Like I said, an interesting concept, but the execution I just didn't like. I don't like this author's work, if I'm honest. I don't like the writing style, but there's more on that to come. £2.80 cash price, a bargain in my opinion for the curiosity. The next 3 books I bought at the Works, which were on a 3 for £6 offer. The books used to be 3 for £5. Inflation. Oh god. But I did pick up 3 books. 2 of these I really wanted. One of them I just picked up because I felt like I just wanted another one as part of the offer. And actually the other one, that spare one that I've picked up, I have actually read. The first book is Within These Wicked Walls, which is one that I did want. This is a Jane Eyre remix with Ethiopian inspired storylines. Jane Eyre is one of my favourite books, so when this one came out as a young adult remix with Ethiopian, I really wanted to read this. I was really shocked to see this in the Works actually, because when this came on my radar and is published year 2021, not a lot of people were talking about it. So yeah, very surprised to see this in the Works. Hoping to get around to reading it soon. It has the most beautiful cover. If you've read this, let me know what your thoughts on it are, especially if you love Jane Eyre. The next book in that offer was one that I definitely have heard about, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Again, another one I did not expect to see in the works. I was really hoping they would have had the whole series in there as part of this offer, but they didn't. They just had this one when I was there. Chloe is chronically ill, and after a brush with death, she decides that she wants to do specific things in her life and makes a list of what to do. She meets a man with tattoos and a motorbike and seeks his help in doing some of the things that are rebellious that she wants to do now, which includes enjoy a drunken night out, ride a motorbike, go camping, things that I can't talk about on YouTube, and travel the world with nothing but hand luggage and do something bad. Sounds like a great summer read, and I've heard a lot of good things about this one. Looking forward to it. And the spare that I did pick up is Haven't They Grown by Sophie Hannah. This is a thriller novel in which the main character sees her friend that she thought had moved away. She sees her in passing after visiting her old house out of curiosity, and thinks that she sees the children as the ages they were many years ago when they were friends, as in their children haven't grown. And she's trying to find out why she thinks that is. Is it that, you know, is there something wrong with her? Is she remembering things wrongly? Why have the children not grown, or who are these children? It only took me a day to read this thriller, and yeah, I wasn't too thrilled by it. But more on that in my wrap-up video. Not one I would recommend, but you know, as part of this deal, it was okay. Another Barter Books purchase with the cash price of £2.20. That is a very old fantasy novel from, I think this was published in 2003, is Lord of Snow and Shadows, book 1 in the Tears of Artemis series by Sarah Ash. And now I have actually read this before. This was actually my first ever adult fantasy read, and my grandma picked it up for me at a charity shop and was like, here's an introduction into adult fantasy. I must have read this when I was like 14, and honestly I can't remember anything at all, apart from I remember it being super high fantasy and thinking, oh my god, I didn't know books could be like this. I didn't know my imagination could conjure things up like this from words. The main character is called Gavril, and his father is the king of this wintry kingdom. His father is murdered and he ascends his father's place, but in doing so he also transforms himself into a dragon warrior, and his main goal is to avenge his father's death, but he struggles, if I remember, with that balance between remaining human and becoming this new dragon warrior. It had my first ever like romancy scene in it, and I think I'm just going to read this for the nostalgia. If I'm honest, I'm probably going to hate this, even though as a kid, because this was brand new, I thought this was the best thing ever, but rereading it, I'm a bit worried. If this was anyone else's introduction to adult fantasy, I would love to know. It's a trilogy, I think, and I did read all 3 books back to back. When I was at Barter Books, I was determined to also buy books that I'd never heard of, just to give books a try. I felt myself falling into this cycle of reading books that were recommended to me on social media, and it's a very niche, very in a bubble reading experience when you do that. So I was determined. I had so much book credit to get things I'd never heard of. So I picked up The Two of Swords by K.J. Parker, and I picked them up purely because it's Orbit, and I generally like fantasy that's published by Orbit, so I thought I'd give these a go. These together had the cash price of £7. Going to the back, there's also a volume 3. But if I don't like them, I can just take them back to Barter Books and get some more store credit, is what I was thinking. It seems like typical traditional fantasy, if I'm honest. There's a grand war, raging battles. The story's told through the eyes of soldiers, politicians, victims, and heroes. I'm interested to read these and see what I think. To just go into an adult fantasy novel with no expectations, I'm looking forward to that experience. With the same mindset, I also picked up The Inheritance of Okida Davina. I'm sorry if I've butchered that, I do apologise. This is another book that I'd never heard of, with a cash price of £4.60. I think if I was paying in cash, I wouldn't have actually picked this up, because it is quite expensive for a secondhand book, but it is absolutely brand new, another American book. And although I'd never heard of this and never seen this before, I did recognise V.E. Schwab up here, who has put a little, what's the word? Ah, God, I don't know, my mind's gone blank. He's put like a little review here for the book. In this novel, it seems like the matriarch of a family dies, and her family later on inherit gifts, like manifestations of actual power, and they travel to Ecuador to try and understand what this means for them. There's also someone trying to destroy their family line. I love a good book about family, so I'm looking forward to reading this, but again, this is not one that I've heard of. Rebecca apparently had heard of this one though. So if you do know of this, or if you have read it, let me know your thoughts on this one. And I think this is the final book that I picked up from Barter Books, along the same thought line of picking up books I'd never heard of, and that's The Court of Broken Knives by Anna Smith Spark. This had a cash price of £3.60, but this one looks in really, really good condition. You can tell it's been read, but the spine is barely broken and it is in fantastic condition. I didn't even read the back when I picked this up because I was just like, I'm determined to get books that I've never heard of, and also a female high fantasy author. This book is set in the city of Solast, which is in the richest empire that the world has ever known. Decadence has become the true ruler of the city, and it has blinded its inhabitants to the city's true vulnerability. A lord then starts having nightmares about the empire's demise, and he orders a group of mercenaries to approach the city and kill the emperor. The back doesn't tell me much more than that, but it does seem to be part of a series. I then bought 2 contemporary novels which I have heard of in Barter Books. These were £2.20 each, cash price, and that's Purple Hibiscus and Half of a Yellow Sun. The reviews for these are absolutely outstanding. They are both set in Nigeria and touch on issues relating to Nigeria's history and past. Typically, I'm not a lover of adult contemporary novels, but I did really enjoy reading the works of Khaled Hosseini last year, and I'd wanted to read more books in that vein. But I will be reading these with the knowledge in the back of my mind that this author has been accused of being anti-trans, and that is absolutely not okay. I do still want to read these stories for what they are, so when I saw them secondhand, that's why I picked them up. Also in Barter Books, for the cash price of £3.60, I picked up Ice Like Fire, which is a sequel to Snow Like Ashes, but when I picked this up, I thought that this was Snow Like Ashes. By the time I realised that it wasn't, I was already committed to buying this, and I've wanted to pick up Snow Like Ashes for a long time, and I thought, you know, I'm pretty much picking this up for free. If I pick up Snow Like Ashes elsewhere, at least I'll have this one on my shelves. Snow Like Ashes was also another popular young adult fantasy book which was making the rounds at the same time of Rainbow Rowell in 2014-ish. Oh my god, I'm showing my age. That I've always had in the back of my mind, and like Rainbow Rowell, I've always wanted to pick up for the curiosity of it. In Snow Like Ashes, a kingdom is conquered and its magic taken, and the main character is a 16-year-old orphan who, with a group of friends, is trying to retake magic so that they can overthrow the kingdom, I guess. Very typical YA of the 2014 era. But if I don't like it, or if I just don't find it, at least I can just trade this in for something else. Also in Barter Books, for the cash price of £4.60, I got this brand new copy of Muse of Nightmares. I read Strange the Dreamer around winter time, but I can't remember if it was this year or last year, and I rated it 5 stars. I really loved it. I can't believe I left it so long to read that book. Strange the Dreamer is a young adult high fantasy novel. It is just as long as this one. It's a meaty book. To me, I found it quite whimsical, and it made me think of like Final Fantasy vibes. The world building in it is honestly so good. Plot follows really the relationship between a boy and a girl, him being a scholar and her being a god. She lives in the clouds and her power enables her to enter people's dreams and manipulate their dreams. They cross paths and oh boy, things start going wrong. There's actually a good amount of action in it. I really enjoyed it. If you have it on your shelves and you haven't picked it up already, make it a priority. Please just try it and see what you think. I snatched this off the shelves when I saw it. I couldn't believe that I'd found this in Barter Books. And in such good condition. I'll be reading this soon. The last paperback that I picked up in Barter Books was The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave, and I bought this for the cash price of £3.60. This has been on my radar for the longest time. This book is set in 1617 and it's set in a remote Norwegian island. Following a vicious storm, all of the men on this island perish. 18 months later, a sinister figure arrives at the island, a man, and he's gone to the island of now women to try and bring these women to a heel, and he takes with him his wife. His wife is named Ursa, and when she arrives at this island, she sees for the first time independent women. Ursa finds happiness and even love, but her husband sees this as a place flooded with terrible evil, one he must root out at all costs. Sounds like a powerful novel. So pleased I have a copy of this now. Now on to some Waterstones purchases. I bought these 2 novels because I was feeling a bit down and they were on buy one get one half price. They just so happened to be books that I really wanted, but they also just so happen to have really fancy sides. And when I took these to the tills, I was thinking in my head, I really hope the cashier doesn't think that I'm buying these just because of this. And I get to the till and the cashier looks at these and goes, "Oh, you're buying these for the edges?" And I was like, no, I'm actually not. It just so happened. These are 2 books I really want. They're both on offer and yeah, they're both stunning. So the first book is Cursed Crowns. This is book 2 to Twin Crowns. Yeah, I'd finished Twin Crowns the week that I went shopping and picked this up, and I just really wanted to get to this straight away. And this one is the Waterstones exclusive. So yes, it does have beautiful sprayed edges. The Waterstones exclusives of this series are the best. And it looks great with this stunning cover as well. Twin Crowns is a young adult fantasy book that I really liked. I love stories, especially young adult ones with twin storylines. I'm an only child, so I love reading about sibling love. I've never experienced it and I just think it sounds lovely. For the size of Twin Crowns, which is the same size as this really, it was a really quick read. Rose and Ren are twin sisters. Ren knows that Rose exists, but Rose doesn't know that Ren exists. Rose sits as the princess in her kingdom. Their parents, the king and queen, have been murdered, and Rose is being looked after by her, I guess, the next in command, until she turns of age and then she can have her kingdom. Ren is the twin sister who is outcast and is being raised by witches. Witches are banished from the kingdom, and Ren is being raised, knowing who Rose is, to try and take Rose's place, so that the witches become powerful in the kingdom again. So even though Rose doesn't know it, their twin sisters are at war with each other. It's a really fun read and I would highly recommend. Part 2 of this purchase was another book by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. That's The Dancing Tree. I've had this on my radar for so long and I couldn't resist this Waterstones edition. Like The Mercies, this is also another adult novel, and it takes its inspiration from the mysterious dancing plague which took hold of the city of Strasbourg in the 16th century. Yes, I did learn about this from Shane and Ryan. I think it was an episode of BuzzFeed Unsolved. And when I saw that Kieran was writing a novel inspired by that, I had to have it. Can I just say, Kieran is one of these rare authors who writes adult, young adult, and books for children. And I just think that variety is so skillful. I don't know which one of these to pick up first. Maybe The Dancing Tree, but this one's been out the longest, and this is the one I've pined over the longest. Oh, I don't know. Help me pick. My best friend, who is also a fellow content creator, Rebecca Reeds, also gave me an ARC when I visited her house, and that is The Queen of Coin and Whispers, a book by Helen Corcoran, which I've wanted for a very long time, and I was so unfortunate that I didn't get an ARC of this myself. This is a young adult sapphic novel about a teenage queen and the spy master she brings in, following her getting control of her uncle's corrupt kingdom. I've heard so many good things about this, and my big issue with this entire video is I don't know what to read first, but this one is very high up on that list. My next book is a vintage purchase, and what a bargain. I bought this with a hardback book instead, so saved on postage, otherwise I probably wouldn't have got it on its own. That's She Who Became the Sun. This is a brand new paperback book for £2. Ah! £2. Now I already own this. I have the Illumicrate edition, and I did buy this. And I did buy this thinking that I wanted to keep my Illumicrate one in really great condition. Oh, I've just remembered I also did buy the Illumicrate Book 2 edition as well. So that's another book that's not in here that needs to go in here. That hasn't come yet. I need to stop buying books. I just feel like my Illumicrate edition is too beautiful for my grotty hands, and I would rather spend £2 and buy a paperback copy instead of risking what I already have, because I have been putting off reading it because I've been so scared of it being damaged. At least this one I can take to work in my bag. This is a sapphic fantasy novel set in China in 1345. In a famine-stricken village, a seer shows two children their futures. For the boy there is greatness, for the girl nothingness. However, the boy does perish, and the girl takes his identity and enters a monastery. There she learns to be ruthless to avoid her fated death. But her sanctuary is destroyed by war. She's cast back into the world, and to stay alive she must claim her brother's great destiny as her own. This sounds so good. I can't wait to read this. I will also be vlogging my experience of reading this and the other two sapphic novels that came out in Illumicrate at the same time. The rest of the paperback books are charity shop finds, and they are bargains, let me tell you. Bargains. The first one is Hamlet, and I got this for 50p. Hamlet is a novel that is inspired by the son of Shakespeare, who died as a child and whose name was later used for one of Shakespeare's most famous characters, Hamlet. I don't know much about this book, but those that have read it have really enjoyed it, and for 50p I was not going to pass up the experience myself. In the same charity shop I also got The Quiet at the End of the World by Lauren James, which is a young adult novel. This sounds to me a lot like Eve of Man, which is a book which is another young adult book that I really liked, so I thought I'd give it a go. In this novel, Lowry and Shen are the youngest people on the planet after a virus caused global infertility. They live in a community in London and they are doted upon by a small, ageing community, and they spend their days mudlarking and looking for treasure. But they uncover a treasure which threatens their entire existence. In the quiet at the end of the world, Lowry and Shen must decide what they are willing to sacrifice to save the human race. Sounds interesting, looks like a quick read, 50 pence was going in my bag. After that, I walked into another charity shop and found that this charity shop sold books which were 4 for £1. 25 pence a book. So of course I had to buy 4. I actually only wanted one book, which was The Queen of Fenbrin, which is a novella based on Three Dark Crowns, which is a series that I absolutely loved. I took this to the till and I said, can I just have this for £1? And the person behind the till was so nice and he begged me to take 4 books. So of course I had to give in to pressure. So I bought this. They did actually also have Three Dark Crowns. Yeah, I have this book. I have read this book multiple times, but this is in much better quality than the one that I have. So the one that I do have, I'm going to pass on to a friend at work. So I'm going to replace it with this copy, which is much better because I have actually read this book 5 times. I absolutely love this series. Three Dark Crowns is a really fun young adult novel about 3 triplets which are all princesses and they must fight to the death for one of them to become queen. It's a wild ride, but I highly recommend. I also bought Girl A, which is a thriller that I have also read. I'm so proud of myself for reading all of these books. I'd seen a lot of people talking about this and for 25 pence I thought I'm just going to give it a go. I didn't know much about it when I picked it up at the time, but what Girl A is about is a group of siblings which were abused by their parents. This book starts off when they are now adults. What happened to them was many years ago, and to the world they are just known by the names that the court give them: Girl A, Boy A, Girl B. When their mother dies, Girl A, who is now an adult, has to sort out the estate and the affairs of her deceased parents, and she has to decide what to do with the house. And that's where the novel is. I don't want to say much more about it because this book is about secrets and turns, and to say more I think would spoil it, but if you want to know more about my thoughts on this, it'll be in my review coming soon. The 4th book that I picked up is actually at work, and that is a Lisa Jewell novel. I've forgotten what the name is. I have actually started reading this. It was brand new. A brand new book for 25 pence is just mind blown. It is my first Lisa Jewell book. I've heard a lot of good things about Lisa Jewell as a crime author, so I was in a rush and picked that one. To round out the paperback books, yeah, I repurchased the Throne of Glass set. Oh boy. So I did actually already own these, but I gave 4 of them away because I read the first 4 and didn't like them. But because the new covers have come in, and I don't like the new covers at all, I prefer the old style covers. When I saw this set for £33, I was just gonna buy it. Just in case I ever want to reread these books. For reasons, if you've read the end of House of Sky and Breath, you might know why I may have repurchased these, just in case. I first read them when they came out, and as a teenager I didn't like the events of Queen of Shadows. But I feel like as an adult, I might do. I might like the love interest that appears down the line. But as a really young adult person, I did not appreciate the introduction of that 3rd love interest. These are supposed to retail at £72 and they're going out of print, so £33 to me is a bargain. Okay, time for the hardbacks. We're on the home stretch. So the first hardback is one that I bought from Barter Books for the cash price of £7.60. I picked this up because, even though I think their hardbacks are quite expensive, this is a Waterstones edition. It's the marriage portrait, and I have just realised this is from the author of Hamnet. And I had no idea until I've just seen Hamnet on the bed and realised it's the same author. So this cover is absolutely gorgeous. But the Waterstones exclusive edition does include beautiful end papers and a really nice design on the hardback in filing. If you don't have a Fairy Loot or an Illumicrate subscription, you just need to visit Waterstones often because some Waterstones editions are just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than what you get in book boxes. I don't know much about the marriage portrait, if I'm honest. It's set in the winter of 1561 in Italy. The marriage portrait is a vivid evocation of beauty and brutality of Renaissance Italy and a young woman whose proximity to power places her in mortal danger. In the winter of 1561, the main character, who is a duchess, is taken on an unexpected visit to a country villa by her husband Alfonso. As they sit down to dinner in the icy hall, it occurs to her that Alfonso has brought her here for a sinister purpose, to kill her. I've heard many, many good things about this book. If I'm honest, I'm probably just going to have this on my shelves and I'm just going to stare at it for a bit because I love the colours. It's such a beautiful cover. There's so many hardback books that I want to read before this one, unfortunately, so I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading it, but I'm so happy to have it and to have got this using my credit. One of my favourite finds this year, but not as much as my absolute favourite, which I think might be Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir, which I got in a charity shop for £1. £1. And it looks absolutely brand new. This is actually the reason that I went into charity shops in the first place. This is the book that I was looking for, and I just so happened to find it in the first charity shop that I went into. Andy Weir is also the author of The Martian and Artemis. I really love The Martian. I wasn't so keen on Artemis and I did get rid of that one, but I've heard that Project Hail Mary is one of his best works. The main character is called Ryland and he's been asleep for a very long time, and when he wakes up he finds that he's millions of miles from home with nothing but 2 corpses for company. His crewmates are dead, his memory is fuzzy, and he realises that he has an impossible task in front of him. He is hurtling through space on a tiny ship, and it's up to him to puzzle out an impossible scientific mystery and conquer an extinction-level threat to humans. Basically, if he fails, the Earth will perish. Sounds a lot like Andy Weir, to be honest. The next time I'm in the mood for a space novel, this will be the one that I'm picking up. A book that I bought last week, but I have already read, that's Yellowface by R.F. Quang. I bought this in Sainsbury's for £9. So if you want this but don't want to pay full price in Waterstones, check your supermarkets. Yellowface is a satirical novel about the publishing industry. The main character is a white author who is not successful. Her friend is a very, very successful Asian author, and this book starts off with the two of them hanging out together, and unfortunately the Asian author, who is called Athena, dies, and the main character, the white author called June, steals or takes a finished manuscript that she found in Athena's house. She then proceeds to publish that novel as her own. This book is about race in publishing, and I do really, really recommend this. I thought that this was a great read. Again, another one I'll be touching on in my review video. Definitely did not expect this of R.F. Quang given her other works, but I'm pleased that I read it. The vintage purchase that I got with She Who Became the Sun is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. This is her autobiography. This was an absolute steal as well at £4, and like She Who Became the Sun, this is in brand new condition. Whoever sold me these, you are an absolute legend. I am not sponsored by Vinted, but I will never stop talking about how great Vinted is for bargains. Jeanette McCurdy was a child actress. She starred in iCarly, and she talks about the struggles of being forced into the acting industry and the toll that that took on her as a child and now as an adult. Heard only good things about this. Don't usually read autobiographies, but for this I'll definitely make an exception. High on TBR, very high. And now we are down to the last 2 books which I bought on Wednesday just gone. I had an afternoon to myself in Waterstones Cafe and it was absolutely lovely, and I felt like I just had to buy some books while I was there. I highly recommend Waterstones Hot Chocolate if you live in the UK. One of the books that I bought was Fourth Wing, because I wanted to make a reading vlog about this because I've heard absolutely nothing but 5-star reviews for this. Sorry, that's a lie. My best friend Rebecca did read it and she did not rate it 5 stars. So I was very curious to see whether she may have been the odd one out, or whether this book is just absolutely too overhyped. This has taken the internet by absolute storm. This book was in the fantasy section. I've heard it reads a lot like a young adult book, but also some adult at times, so I'm guessing this is going to fall into the range of new adult, even though that's never really been accepted as a thing in publishing. The main character is 20-year-old Violet. The novel is set in a war college. Although Violet was supposed to enter a scribe quadrant, living a quiet life among books and history, she's been ordered to become an elite dragon rider. There's too many candidates to dragons, so it becomes a bitter battle for who these dragons are going to actually bond with, because they will only bond with the strongest. Seems like people will literally kill to graduate with a dragon. I hope I like this because book 2 is also out this year, and I may or may not have already pre-ordered a Waterstones edition. But I can always cancel it if I don't like this. That's my thoughts. And last but I hope not least is The Battle Drum. This is book 2 to The Final Strife. No, I have not read The Final Strife yet, but I picked this up because this is a pen-signed copy by the author and this was on a discount. I really wanted to get The Final Strife out to show you, but it's so tightly packed in my bookcases. I can't actually get any of the books out of the shelf because I've literally been squeezing them in here. I am very confident that I'm going to like The Final Strife because everything about it just seems right at my street. It really focuses in on everything that I love in fantasy books. The Final Strife is a high fantasy novel that has roots in African mythology. It has really complex world building, it's gritty, it's got queer characters, women rebelling against an empire that divides people by blood. It sounds truly epic. And also comes with beautiful end papers. I love it when standard editions come with features like this that just make them feel so special. Oh boy, so that is it. The other books that I have been buying and also reading, I have absolutely nowhere to put them. Nowhere. The books that I have read I will be getting rid of, and I'm currently reading about 1 to 2 books a week. So at the pace I'm going, I think I'm doing quite well. But to read absolutely everything I own, I'm gonna have to live until I'm like 300 years old. I literally collect books like I'm gonna live forever. Thank you so much for watching this really long video. Let me know what you've been buying and reading recently. Check out your charity shops and check out Vinted because they are just homes for bargains. I'll put the details for barter books in the description if you are in the UK as well. Thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye guys.